We're so glad to have you here, though, today. Really, thank you so much for being here. I just want to make sure that we take some time to be able to share who we are and what we do and connect with you all. Thanks for sending out a video announcement so we could say, hi, this is who we are, and invite you here. Well, it's awesome to be here. I was going to start with just start, but then I feel like I need to introduce myself. So my name is Melanie Francis. If you're trying to figure out if I'm a native Californian, and it does, okay, so you don't have to laugh that willingly back there. I just came back from Texas this morning, and when someone like me goes to a place like Texas, people are looking at you like, what exactly is that woman saying? So I usually say, if you can't understand me, just wave. I promise it's not heresy. It's called a New York accent. So I'm a native New Yorker, and so that's what you hear. So believe it or not, I know people on the East Coast say to me all the time, there's saved people in California. Well, I just want to tell you there are saved people in New York, because I hear you all saying the same thing about it. What I've learned is that the coasts of our country are not entirely different. Everybody thinks that they're better than each other, but it really isn't different. We both have crazy governors, and our life is just about the same. So I just figured I'd start out with that. I have the longest title at SUM. I think that that's the goal here. My title is the Vice President of Cohort Development and Student Services. There was only one person who had a longer title, but he bailed and went to another department. Pastor Brendan, who's in the back, he is our enrollment, he's our Director of Enrollment and Marketing. But it's really awesome to have you here today. I've personally been with SUM since 2014. It felt like just yesterday that I connected with SUM, but I just realized that it's coming up on 10 years since I've been connected with SUM. And what happened in my story was that my husband and I were pastoring in Florida. I know I said New York and California. We pastored in Florida as well, detour. Talk about missions experience. I found out that you can be a missionary to the United States as well, because there are no two places that are more different than New York and Florida. But we were pastoring there in northern Florida that they call southern Georgia, real kind of deep south mentality. And while we were there, I had a friend in ministry try to introduce me to this online Bible school. And I said to and my background's in higher ed. I taught high school history for about 10 years, and just my passion was in education. And I had this friend talking about this online Bible school, and I said to my husband, I will never, ever work for an online Bible school. It is inferior education, and I just don't support Christian education that's inferior. The reason why I would never have anything to do with Christian education is that I could not stand an inferior product with a Christian label. There was no way I was going to have anything to do with it. So I avoided my friend Jeff. My friend Jeff is super persistent. I avoided him for literally about 2 years. I had taken an online course in my master's program. It was the most horrific course I ever had in my life. I don't know if you remember the days of dial-up internet, but my online course was dial-up internet. We unplugged the phone, plugged in the computer, took 10 minutes to connect. The entire online course was a chat box. So this is why I have no compassion for students that complain now. Just no compassion for them. It was a chat box, and you had to chat in the box for 3 hours on a Saturday morning, and then you would get kicked out and you had to go back on. It was horrible. So you can understand why, online Bible school, I'm like, no. Anyway, I finally, because Jeff was so persistent and annoying me, I let him log me into a class, and I said, wow, it's a real class. It's fantastic. That's great education. He said, yeah, I know. I know you were avoiding me. Now that you finally saw it, would you please put in an application and start teaching for us? So I started teaching for SUM in 2014, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about our model in just a minute. But after that, we moved back up to New York to pastor back in New York again, started the first cohort or location, offsite location of SUM in New York. The time now we have 3 up there in New York, and then eventually we were out here visiting California. Now SUM was still in Oakland at the time, but they brought some of us out here to show us a new property that they were thinking about buying, and we were on this property downstairs in a room that was completely gutted, and they brought some of us in and they said, we want to pray over this property. We think we might buy this property. And while I was here, I made the mistake of saying out loud to somebody I think it was my husband. I like it here. I think I could see myself living here. Well, P.S., somebody overheard that, Dr. Rieger, not naming any names, and Dr. Rieger told Chancellor that I had said that, and I got a phone call. Did you say this? Did you say you could live in Chicago? Well, yeah, I did. I was just kind of saying it was nice. Good, get on a plane. We have a position. We want you to come out and interview. That is literally how I got here. And my husband and I brought our family out after our kids finished high school in 2018. And so we got everybody situated 2019 rather. 2018 is when we came to this campus, and we came in 2019 just in time for the pandemic. So that's my connection with SUM. It's been a fantastic road, but what we do is we are really passionate about equipping people for ministry. And what I wanted to start with was just a few connecting points. You know, we are here because we are all unified together in mission. You know, we share that in common. So we know the Great Commission, right? We preach it, we talk about it all the time. Jesus said, all authority has been given to me. I love that. All authority has been given to me. And instead of taking that authority for himself, he gave it to us, and he said, go make disciples of all nations, right? I love the version in Mark, where then it says, and these signs are going to follow those that believe in him. It's not that we're supposed to play with snakes, but I have personally learned since moving to California that inadvertently you can be cleaning your church foyer, reach down and try to pick up a rattlesnake and not know it's a rattlesnake until you hear the rattle. Yes, real story happened to me. I mean, it's cross-cultural stuff that I just didn't understand until we came here. But we believe, that we preach the Great Commission. We preach Ephesians 2:10, we're his workmanship, and that we were created in advance for good works that he laid out before the foundations of the world, before the beginning of time. He laid out these good works for us to do. As you were sharing that story, I was just thinking, well, I'll tell you that in a minute. And then I love the passage in Luke 4. One of my favorite passages of scripture, Jesus comes, he has just gotten out of the wilderness, he's fasted and all that, and he comes and he unrolls the scroll's given to him. They just happened to give him Isaiah, right? He unrolls the scroll and he reads, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. And he starts proclaiming liberty. He starts proclaiming freedom. He starts proclaiming this amazing break of the bondage of what's upon them. And the people are like in awe it says they marveled at the wondrous words that were coming out of his mouth until he told them that it was for the Samaritans too, and it was for those that are outside Israel too, and then they were ready to kill him. It's literally just a couple of verses apart, just so that you know. They're like, you're amazing, and then, hey, we're picking up stones and trying to kill you. But this whole passion for being able to share the truth of the gospel, this liberating power that people don't know about, this ability to be able to speak the good news. I think that sometimes as the church, we get sucked into some of the political arguments, and instead of proclaiming good news, we get dragged into arguments that isn't good news. That's not what good news is supposed to be. There's gospel that we're supposed to be proclaiming, and we all know that, right? That's what we're here for. And as you were sharing those stories today, and I was kind of reflecting and thinking about this. For me, my greatest goal in life, and I think that we probably have this in common too. My greatest goal in life is one day to be able to hear the words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Amen. I don't even care about the enter into your reward. I don't even care about that part. I just want to be able to hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." What my greatest fear in life is that I'll get to the end of my life and God will say, it's okay. What you did was okay. But Melanie, this is what I planned from before the foundations of the world for you. This is what you were created to fulfill. You're my workmanship, and I planned before for you to do all of this. And, you got distracted and you did this. This was good. But look at what you could have done. Look at what could have been. That's my greatest fear. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I spend what I have to spend. And, it's not just finances, right? It's our time, it's our talent, it's our abilities, it's our... I love the Hebrew. I don't know why we translate it like this, but in the Shema, it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your heart, mind, and we say strength. But when you read the Hebrew word, and I've asked a bunch of Hebrew scholars, and nobody could give me a good answer for this. I'm not really sure why we translated it, but it uses the word me'ad, your greatness, what's great inside you. I don't really understand why we just say strength. It's not strength. I'm a woman, and I don't mean to stereotype or gender typify, right? But I'm not super strong. My sister was a professional bodybuilder. She still couldn't barely lift what men could lift. I mean, she could lift me, a couple of me. She was super strong when she was at the top of her game. But we're not strong women, we're just not, even when we are, right? It's not about our strength. It's about what inherently God created inside of us that he anticipated to use to be great in his kingdom. And I think about that, and I don't want to be dwarfed. I don't want to have a smaller expectation of my life than what God had for my life. And I feel like you're probably with me on that. And so, and you guys can start getting that promo video queued, but for SUM, what we do is we equip people. Not just, I know sometimes we think Bible college, it's got to be students, so they got to be like 18 to 25, right? We equip people to be able to fulfill the fullness of what God has for their life. Like wherever they are in life, whatever season they are in life, wherever you're at, we equip people to be able to fulfill that. And I'll just share a little bit more about that in a minute, but I think they have a general video to show you so you can get an idea.
There are 8 billion people in the world today. 5.5 billion do not know Christ as their Savior. 1.8 billion have never heard the gospel.
How will they know him unless they have heard? And how will they hear unless the called are sent?
You heard the call of God and you answered, but there's so many distractions, so many different paths one can take. How do I answer God's call in life and prepare myself?
SUM Bible College and Theological Seminary has launched its new online flexible delivery model, anytime, anywhere.
8 accredited degrees equipping the church to fulfill the Great Commission are available for undergraduate and graduate students anytime, anywhere. Ministry degrees empower those called to full-time vocational ministry, while marketplace degrees provide a solid educational foundation to resist a culture that is hostile to a biblical worldview.
Students worldwide can receive their theological education on a flexible schedule, using high-definition, engaging videos that are broken into 3 segments: learn, grow, and serve.
Supported by comprehensive, downloadable notes, student discussion boards, and small group meetings with their professors.
Our unique mission statement at SUM is to equip leaders globally by providing an affordable theological education, combining academic instruction with practical hands-on ministry and personal mentorship. Our goal is to raise Spirit-empowered fivefold ministry leaders to be instruments of change in their communities.
Our partnership model enables denominations, parachurch organizations, and churches to offer these programs right in their local context. These learning cohorts make your church the center for Christian education in your community.
You might be concerned about the cost of college. Our commitment to provide affordable education has led to the new donation-based grant,
which guarantees that students will graduate with absolutely no debt.
We look forward to connecting with you to answer any questions about our programs and partnerships.
SUM, anytime, anywhere, for anyone who is serious about their calling.
So I know that like packs everything into like a 2-minute time frame. That gives you the idea of what we do. But essentially our goal is to just equip people for what God's called them to do. So we know that there are many that are called to full-time ministry. We know that there are many who are also called to serve in whatever field God has called them to. But you still need a foundation. You still need a foundation in what the Gospels say and what the Bible says. You need a solid theological foundation. You can't answer the questions that people have until you've grappled with those questions yourself. And for most Christians, we spend most of our life listening to what other people think and then just on repeat, like a parrot, repeating what we have heard, repeating the exact same things. Until you take that time to dig in and study Scripture, you don't really know what you believe. I love the passage in 1 Peter that says, always be ready to give an account for the hope that lies within you. The context of that is like hope in the middle of suffering, hope in the middle of persecution, hope in the middle of being criticized and being thrown in jail and being falsely accused. But be ready to give an account for the hope that lies within you. We can't be ready for that just by accepting that from somebody else. It has to be a process that we have to walk through the process. And so for us, and I know there was a lot that was thrown in the video, what we do is just equip people at the undergraduate level with an associate's degree. The associate's degree, it has a theology and ministry foundation so that students get a great biblical foundation, but then can transfer that into any program that God is calling them, whether it's teaching, whether it's law, whether it's engineering, so they get that solid theological foundation and some practical ministry training as well. And then we've got the Bachelor's of Arts in Theology and Ministry and the Bachelor of Arts in Worship and Music that prepare you for vocational ministry. We've got classes that are offered with missions focus and intercultural communication and communicating. Dr. Nani Asani leads our international program, but he teaches some of those classes that help us understand how to minister cross-culturally. Then, of course, we also have the master's programs. Our Master of Christian Leadership is similar to a Master's of Organizational Leadership that gives you that solid foundation of how to develop an organization and lead an organization in either a nonprofit, a Christian or secular environment, but it does it all from a Christian worldview. Excellent for church ministry or for marketplace ministry. And then we have the Master of Divinity, which is the professional degree in ministry. If you are going on to a doctoral degree, whether it's a Doctor of Ministry or PhD, and also the Master of Arts in Biblical Studies. Those are just solid Bible degrees, and you can choose your concentration, right? If you love languages, you choose languages, biblical exegesis, or biblical theology. All of that is offered to our students in this new flexible format, and the flexible format has been key to us to expand globally. So you heard a little bit about partnerships, and I want to make sure that you have at least a little glimpse of that before you leave today. I said Dr. Nani Asani is our international director. Right now we have students in 40 nations, including the United States, where we are growing with the intention of literally being everywhere. Our goal is to equip students everywhere, regardless of where they're from, with the gospel in a format that is accessible, available to them, but also the tuition is scaled to match the local economy. So you heard our commitment to debt-free education. Here in the United States, we commit to students. So we have our traditional tuition structure has been rated one of the most affordable in the United States. In fact, our Master's of Divinity has that rating, most affordable in the U.S. right now. But our entire tuition structure, students earn their whole bachelor's degree for less than 1 year at a typical school. So our bachelor's program is accelerated. Students earn the degree in 3 years rather than 4. The entire degree is $30,000, under $30,000 for the whole degree. Our master's programs are similar. The most expensive is the Master's of Divinity, which is $21,000 for the entire degree. When I say this in places all across the country, I have people coming up and saying, I'm at the end of my program, I'm 80 grand in, I'm 100 grand in. How is this possible? So $21,000 total program costs. That's traditional tuition. But here in the U.S., we know that some students are not able to afford it. It's still out of their grasp. Some are not ineligible for federal financial aid. We've rolled out our debt-free degree guarantee, which has a donation-based portion to it. There's a couple of pieces that students have to do. We help them learn how to gain support, how to raise support at an early age. They're only looking for $10 donations, by the way, $10 monthly donations from 20 people. It's a pretty easy process. When you have to actually raise real support, to ask for that. I know it sounds big to other people, but to missionaries, it's like $10 a month My only ask, yeah, that's your only ask. But they can come to school for $200 a month, and that's it. We literally are committed to getting students out debt-free. Internationally, what that looks like is our degree that costs about $3,000 a term here in the United States. In a country like, Dr. Nadi, correct me if I'm wrong, in a country like India, it's $200 a term, right? Yeah, $200 a term. When we say scaled to match the local economy, there's no other U.S. degree. And that's not because, they have donors. If they get donors, they could get the donor to pay the $200. We're not charging them the $2,800 to a donor and they pay the $200. They get charged $200 for that whole term. And then if they want to have a donor pay it, they can. And we have many students that have sponsors that pay their degrees in countries like Nigeria and Kenya, Ghana, Ethiopia. We're really committed to that. We have partnerships internationally with churches and parachurch organizations, missions organizations, to be able to get that training, U.S. accredited training. We're an accredited degree program. We're nationally accredited by ABHE, which is a biblical accrediting body, but we're regionally accredited by WASC. And if you know anything about regional accreditation, that's like the same association that accredits the UC system, Berkeley, same accreditation. So you're talking about a quality degree that our students come out of school with, but we do that through their whole degree, not just training their head with academics, but we have what we call our four pillars. We observe Jesus' model of leadership is that he didn't just teach for head concepts, he taught for heart transformation, and he taught for practical skill as well. So we believe that education has to be the academic piece, but it also has to engage practical hands-on ministry and personal mentorship, because it does us no good if we fill our students' heads with knowledge and they don't know how to minister to the bride of Christ, or they come out and they lose their own soul because they haven't learned how to take care of themselves and they've neglected their own personal spiritual formation. So those three tie together in an affordable model. We do that by partnering students with their local church to serve in their local church. So a lot of different things I want to make sure that I leave you with today. I want to leave you with our commitment to affordable, accessible, flexible education, right? But also I want to leave you with the opportunity for, if you're interested in a degree, we absolutely want you to be able to have access to that. We'll give you a QR code you could scan later if you want more information. But we also want you to know that we have partnership opportunities available. So if you have an organization or you are representing a church that wants to bring that education to their church and make their church a center for Christian education right there in their community, we'll do that. We partner with churches. If you've got a global organization or a group somewhere, anywhere in the world, Dr. Nadi Asani will connect with them and make this education affordable. If we're not rated in that country yet, if we don't know what it costs in that country yet, we figure it out and we scale it for that country. We want to make all of that available to you today. I think the other piece, and then I want to show you something that's coming up. The other piece that's really exciting for us is that we have ministry teams that go out. Our worship team goes out almost every weekend. Now they're out somewhere ministering. We have people that go out and preach. I go out and preach. We've got Pastor Brendan goes out and preaches. We will come and serve anywhere in your church. If you have a need for inspiring somebody about answering the call of God, if you have a need for somebody to come talk about higher education or encourage people to think about continuing on in their education. I know some circles don't necessarily value that. We're happy to do that. If you have anything else that you want to preach on, we are happy to do that as well. I have never turned down anything where somebody says, hey, can you come speak about this? We would love to do that. We have ministry teams that would love to do that. But I do want to share with you an upcoming event that we have, and we'll just do this a quick promo video so you can see this, and then we'll put the QR code up if you want more information about one of our programs. Oh, I didn't tell you, we do have a pastor's cohort that we just started. This is pretty cool. We have pastors from the Sacramento area and a couple from other parts of the world or other parts of the country that are coming together. They're working on their degree together, but then they network together once a month. We meet together so that they could talk, they can fellowship, they can encourage one another, but they can share with one another, hey, this is what I'm doing in my ministry, this is how I'm applying what I'm learning. It's been a really cool environment. We've got 6 pastors that started with that January 15th. We've got room for about 4 more. So if you or a colleague or somebody that you know wants to jump in that cohort, we can add a couple more. I want to make sure I offered that to you as well, and we can get you more information on that. But one of the things that we are super passionate about, that I obviously know you are too, is evangelism. From the beginning of our school, we always had evangelism as one of our core foundational principles, and we ensure that our students graduate with not just knowledge about evangelism, but practical application of evangelism. So we were founded 31 years ago in New Orleans, so we're 31 years old now, and when we started, every year we took our students to Mardi Gras, brought them out on Bourbon Street during Mardi Gras so that they could learn how to share their faith. We did that for 28 years. We were out there in 2020. It ended up being a super spreader event, praise Jesus. In 2021, they shut it down. Our hotel became a senior living facility because they had no business, but it kind of propelled us to take this conference and outreach that we have been doing for almost 30 years to different cities across the United States. That's why I just came back from Dallas today. Pastor Brendan was in Dallas a couple of weeks ago. We went to Dallas-Fort Worth last year. We'll go to Dallas-Fort Worth again this year, and then we'll launch into other U.S. cities, going into the cities, bringing our students, sharing, training them in evangelism, having services with them, but then taking them out onto the streets to go into neighborhoods, door to door, to businesses, and to share Christ with people. What we found, and I will show you the video, but what we found is that when you knock on doors, people still answer. Yeah. And when people answer, they still let you pray for them. And when they let you pray for them, they actually let you lead them to Christ. Our numbers were 56% of people answered their doors. Many of them weren't even home, right? 56% of people answered their doors, 56% of the doors we knocked on. 34% allowed us to pray for them. Is there something I can pray for? Yes. And 4% of people, and this is the one that really bothers me, 4% of people received Christ. That means 4 out of every 100 doors that we knocked on. It is a lie that people don't want Christ. And it is an indictment on us that people aren't receiving Christ because they're not receiving because we're not sharing the gospel. If we were sharing, doesn't matter if 96 doors get shut in my face. They didn't. But 4 out of those doors received Christ. It happens in businesses too, and we're doing that this year as well. So we wanted to share that with you. We're taking teams out March 23rd to 26th, and if you've got anybody who wants to join us for that, we'll show you a little promo on that event, and then we'll close it out, our part.
Go into all the world and preach the gospel. We know it, we believe it, but if we're being honest, sometimes when we hear the word evangelism, we actually respond more with fear and trembling or guilt and shame. What if it didn't have to be that way? What if you could feel empowered to share your faith? You can. Join us in Dallas, Texas, March 23rd through the 26th for ECO 2023, where we will demyst evangelism and equip you to share your faith. Speakers with decades of evangelism experience will inspire you and train you to share the gospel without fear. Conference sessions include inspiring worship, equipping workshops, engaging services, community celebration, and impartation prayer. Partner with local churches in the DFW Metroplex to share Christ with those that have never heard. You will be excited, enriched, and empowered as you experience the power of the gospel flowing through you. Join the movement. Lead now. Be there at ECO 2023 in Dallas-Fort Worth, March 23rd through the 26th. For more information, visit our website, and we cannot wait to join with you as we evangelize the DFW Metroplex.
So just quick promo. If you want to join us, just let us know. Pastor Brendan or I can get you all the information that you need on that. Thank you so much for giving us some time to share with that today. They're going to drop a QR code up on the screen too, that if you want more information, if there's anything that we could do to serve you, anything that we could do to encourage you, we would so appreciate doing that. You hit the video so fantastic. I just thought the QR code was just going to come up on the back of the screen. That's okay. You guys are doing awesome. But thank you. Do we need to take questions?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to have questions, and then we'll do a little something else. Does anyone have any questions? I have a question.
Okay, I'll answer.
So being as I'm somebody who's worked overseas, and I'm thinking, okay, there are some Christians that I know of in the towns that I've worked in.
Yeah.
What would be the process of getting them plugged in? Because like they're unable to go to Bible college where they're at.
Right.
You know, and
right.
so yeah, being able to do something remotely.
Yeah, exactly.
It was foreign 5 years ago for most
right.
everybody, but today it's a little bit more second nature.
Yeah.
Like, what would that process look like?
Such a good question. 2011 is when we started working internationally with this remote process. It used to be live remote. So before the world knew about Zoom, there were some other technologies that we blended together to use to teach our students internationally. The problem was they were taking classes at 2 a.m. when we were teaching here at 2. It was awful. It was just terrible. I'd be teaching and there'd be roosters crowing in the back. And so.
Wi-Fi was good, right?
At 2 a.m. it was, yeah. So our Anytime, Anywhere model, we use our studios, and I don't know if you saw any of those, but we use our studios to pre-record these classes and then get them out to students. So we can literally get that to students anywhere in the world. We have a network of directors in different regions. So all I would need is just let me know where we're talking about, what regions of the world, and we could do that. We could do it via email. I'll connect Dr. Nani Asane in, and he'll get those people connected with the correct hub director, regional director, that can get them application information and get them started. Because it's all, because all of that's done through the internet, they're able to do that they're able to do that in their time zone. They're able to access all of that information. The only place where it becomes a little tricky is when they start, shutting the power, shutting the internet off in some of those countries. They do that in some places like Ethiopia or whatever. They'll just shut it off, and you don't know when it's coming back or whatever. But we always work with the students. And our flexible format model pairs pre-recorded video, and the video is not just a professor lecturing, it's lecture and interaction. So it has a talk show feel in our studios, they're recorded in our studios, and then they also have a 45-minute session with their professor. And it's live every week. So they get to ask questions live and then interact with a small group of students. Internationally, all of the professors are international professors. So they're in their time zones, they're in their cultural context, they're able to break those things down for what works in that particular region of the world. And I didn't tell you degrees in English and Spanish.
Okay.
We have our Bachelor of Arts in Theology and Ministry and our Masters of Divinity available in Spanish. Yeah, thank you, great question. Anybody have anything else? And if you've got a region of the world that we're not in yet, the answer is yes, we want to be there. And we'll figure out how to make it happen. Dr. Nani Asani will work all night. Yes.
It sounds very non-denominational. I mean, everything's non-denominational these days, it seems like. But is there a denominational backing or element to your school? And then how does that affect anything from like an MDiv or somebody going through a program?
So we're interdenominational. We work with multiple denominations. We don't have one denomination that supports us. We have multiple denominations that we work with to help students get credentialed if they want to get credentialed in those denominations, but we are interdenominational. So we've got students that come in from all different backgrounds. Our professors come in and either agree with our statement of faith or they have an explanation of what parts that they don't agree with. There are some things that are absolutely non-negotiable, like the deity of Christ and the Trinity. Those are things that are pretty, But we come from a spirit-filled perspective. That's what our leadership does and what the school comes from. But we play nice with others. I preached at a Baptist church last night, so we play nice with others. Just figured I'd share that. Yes, sir.
Will they have that conference in Dallas simulcast? Or
Yes.
So we can watch it?
Yes. I don't know that we've put anything online yet, but there is virtual registration available. It's open. You could register for it now. We had churches last year that gathered in for the last 2 years, that gathered in their sanctuary. They live streamed the sessions, and then when we went out for evangelism, they went out for evangelism. So if you want to do that, just let me know. 2 pieces with that, and I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time, but 2 pieces with that. We have a conference app. And so when you register online, it's eco.sum.edu. I think we have some flyers available. We'll make sure you have them. When you register online, you get access to that conference app. You download the app, log in, everything's in there. And you can watch all of the videos, you can watch everything in there live, right? But then this year, and this is brand new this year, and I'm so excited about it because it's cutting edge, it's just been released, we partner with evangelists to make this happen. One of our partners out of Brooksville, Florida, he is all evangelism, and 2 young men from his church caught that passion, and they're web developers, app developers, and they decided that they were going to develop an evangelism app. Last year they said, we're going to have an app for you for evangelism next year, and they have delivered. They have already beta tested the app. They've run it with a couple of local outreaches, and at this last weekend they were doing it with a large group from their county, in Hernando County, Florida. I haven't followed up yet with them, but they're allowing us to use that. All of our conference attendees will use that app. Literally, we'll put their roots in the app. Every team, we pair everybody up in teams. Every pair, yeah, just like Jesus did, every pair will see exactly the houses or businesses they're supposed to go to. They click. It uses GPS to locate the people so we can't lose them. Last year we used Life 360 because we've never lost anybody on one of these, except for one staff member. We lost one staff member, but it was her fault. She was a staff member. She called us. It was no big deal. That's a true story. But we never lost a student. But anyway, they can see everywhere they go. They can click on the house or business that they were in. They could say, Sue and Stan Smith live here at this house. They can say, I prayed for their mom who has cancer. They can say there's a 2-year-old here and they really need a preschool for the 2-year-old. And at the end of the outreach, all of that data goes back to whatever church we partnered with in that neighborhood. Now the church follows up. Now last year we did it by hand. Do you know what it's like? I was a high school teacher. Do you know what it's like to read that stuff? I mean, that's just terrible. But this year it's in the app. Not only that, when somebody receives Christ, it will pop up with, a cross. When we pray for them, it'll pop up with praying hands. We're going to lay hands on them. We're going to see people healed. It's going to pop up. I don't know if it's going to be a red cross. I'm not really sure exactly how that's going to happen, but they're doing this all in the app. But our students here in the U.S. and our students internationally will be doing it at the same time. Everybody will use the app. And they are working out a map where they could pull up the map. And I'm trying, if they get it done, then we'll put it on our website, and you'll be able to look and see the map of the world light up where teams have been out all over the place. You said you did church planting. One of our teams last year and then a couple years before that in the Philippines, what they do is they go plant a church. They go to a place where there's not a church. They bring a 3rd-year student out. They plant a church and they leave the student to pastor it. They did it again last year. They've done it a couple of times. It's amazing. It's amazing. We've got some it's just amazing. Anyway, thanks for asking that. So exciting. Yes, you can live stream it. Yeah. Yeah, that was your question. You had one too.
Well, just you've got some fabulous studios.
We do.
Just maybe talk very briefly about that whole, I guess, segment of the school here. It's just really cool.
So somewhere around 2018, Chancellor started sharing a vision that he had been keeping secret for a long time. Chancellor, if he's not here today. I'm sorry you didn't get the chance to meet him. Some of you have met him. I laugh when we see him on the videos. Nobody calls him passionless. He is a man of passion and he's a man of vision. So God had been speaking this to him for a long time. He hasn't told anybody how long, but he just had this passion to be able to do education in a little bit of a different way. way, and that's where the recording studios came in. And he knew that we needed to build out these recording studios and pre-record these lessons and do it in this interactive way. And he knew that he wanted to do it for not just higher education, but also for discipleship, also for continuing ed certification, also for K-12. And so he finally in 2018 released that to us. We started working on the flexible model for the bachelor's degrees, and then the pandemic hit. We built our first recording studio. It was completely outfitted and ready to go March. It was like March 1st. I had a group of pastors out here. We were showing them the studio, and everybody's phone started blowing up. We didn't know if they'd be able to get home. Of course, the world shut down, but we were perfectly positioned for what God was doing in this season. And so we built out since then 4 more studios. There's 5 studios right now. We're recording theological content every week in those studios. All of our undergraduate classes are almost finished. Our program in Spanish will be about a third of the way done this year. Our Masters of Divinity in English will be done. Our Masters of Christian Leadership will be done by the end of the year. We're just getting them all in this format. We're also recording discipleship content, and so that's another piece of what we're doing, and our sample video for the K-12 curriculum will be coming out shortly. I haven't seen it yet. It's in editing. Have you seen it? You're in editing. Have you seen the K-12 one? I don't know who's editing. You haven't? Okay. I thought maybe, because I don't know who's editing it. So we're working on all of those pieces. It'll be released shortly. But we're also working with some organizations that are coming in and doing that training. So we've got missions groups that are coming in and talking about sharing your faith cross-culturally, or in the context of Kenya with Muslims or whatever. People who are coming in and doing K-12 stuff, recording discipleship stuff on various levels. Right now, there are 3 studios recording on a regular basis, and we hope to get all 5 up and running by the end of the year, which takes a little bit more funding. So this is not a fundraising opportunity, but it takes more funding. That's what's holding us up. We're actively raising money right now to outfit the other studios and get the rest of that curriculum finished.
One other question. Thinking about the vision, what you're doing, some people think in a traditional sense, you go to college, you sit in the classroom, professor's at the front of the room, you take notes. Probably not going to see that here.
No, it's a learner-centered model, and that's it's a different philosophy of education. So the model is more learner-centered. It's making it accessible to students so that they can. It's not unstructured. It's not like entirely learn at your own pace, take 12 years to complete a course. Our courses are 11 weeks. You got to do it in the time frame. There's due dates on the assignments. You've got to get this week's assignments done this week, but you don't have to get your assignments done on Tuesday. You got to do it inside the time frame, so it makes it entirely more learner-centered. A lot of our engagement happens in learning forums and in those small group settings where groups of students meet. The professor facilitates that, but it's all about the students asking questions, the students learning, the students presenting what they're coming up with. And then that's paired with, remember, practical ministry, because they're at their local church applying what they learned. So if they're in a homiletics class, they are getting the opportunity to preach, which is fantastic, because we would love for you to preach in practice before you preach in the pulpit. It just makes you better. It's less. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking that's much more like a pedagogy style, where it's just not, it's all not that central, but more of, a cohort, which, so one of the things I'm curious about is with this cohort, like, I saw that in your title, and I was thinking, honestly, that's becoming incredibly popular.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what is it that you have seen that really makes the cohort, honestly, just, why you guys do that? You guys do that because I'm sure there's efficacy in that.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like?
For us, it's about community, practical ministry, personal mentorship, that life-on-life experience.
Mentor, teacher, but more of disciple.
Well, all of our BA students choose a mentor, so that there's somebody who's speaking into their life. Well, I'll just say this. I don't know where your backgrounds are from or what your perspectives are, but I grew up in an Italian-American home where people like me don't do the things that I'm doing now. My grandfather I'm a third-generation Pentecostal pastor. I'm an ordained minister with the Assemblies of God. My grandfather pastored a church until he retired just a couple years before he died. And any time that we were together, he was also ordained in the Assemblies of God. Any time that we were together in a minister's meeting, he would say, "This is my granddaughter, Melanie. She's a pastor, but I don't believe in females in ministry." It was fantastic. But I'm saying it nice and calm. You got to really picture a loud Italian grandfather, okay? So my grandfather started that fight all the time, and he would do it to start a fight. That was his intention, to do it to start a fight, to start an argument. I don't believe in women in ministry, so I would say to him, "Grandpa, not only am I real, I'm like the Easter Bunny, but I also am your spiritual heritage because I am your only grandchild serving God in full-time ministry. Thank you very much, and it is not my fault God called me. Take it up with God if you don't like that." Before my grandfather retired, he invited me to preach in his pulpit. And first he said, "Mel, just please wear a dress. Will you just please wear a dress?" "Yes, Grandpa, I'll wear a dress for you." But he said, "This is my granddaughter, Melanie. She's an ordained minister, and I don't believe in females in ministry, but she's going to bring the word of God today." So he lived with that, that theological conflict for all the days of his life. But I think I forgot where I was going. I was going with a very distinct direction. So our cohorts, our mentorship, for people like me, I was not raised with somebody going, "Hey, you can do it, go into ministry." When I told my father that I felt like God was calling me, which I thought at the time meant I had to go to Africa, he had a fit. He was furious. He was really angry. We were Christians. He was a deacon. He was a leader. He didn't like it. So we understand that. I know some of you didn't have that experience. You had people that were like, "Praise God, you're called to ministry. I'm going to mentor you. I'm going to walk alongside you. We're really excited for this. This is going to be fantastic." But there's a lot of us who had experiences like me, where nobody believed in them. Nobody wanted them to do that. We've got students here that come from colorful backgrounds, and so our cohort provides that environment where students are nurtured. It's not just that we're going to pour in to you like head knowledge, because we know that only goes so far. In the cohort, there's people that are encouraging you, that are leaders. You're connected to a local church. So there's a local pastor and a local pastoral team that believes in education and that believes in the students that are there at their cohort. And so when people like me are going home and being told you can't do that, you're a woman, you can't have the mic on a platform. They've got people who are encouraging them and saying, "Yes, you can do that. God has called you. He doesn't care who you are. He's no respecter of persons. He's going to use you." I don't know if he can use a donkey, he can use you, because I just don't feel like I'm a donkey. But you have people encouraging you in that way. But then you also have that accountability built in. You have that community built in. You have that network built in. You have, it's not a cohort where everybody's at the same point in their degree. So you have somebody who's a third year and somebody who's a first year that's learning together in that same environment. You have somebody who's working on their Master of Divinity and somebody who's working on their Bachelor of Arts in Worship and Music at the same time. And now we're all serving in ministry. So now all of us are serving together, whether we're doing greeting, whether we're doing media, whether we're doing outreach and evangelism, whether we're cleaning the church or whatever that we're doing, we're serving together in ministry, and so we're learning from each other. So it creates that environment.
Do you guys ever take into consideration, I'm just thinking because I lived in Africa, I lived in India. You kept saying Africa.
I'm sorry, yeah, because that's what I thought. I just didn't know.
No, it's all good. I was just thinking, like, for example, there's a lot of different faiths.
Yeah.
Would any of the cohorts that maybe are first generation believers?
Oh, for sure.
Faith? Because sometimes there are quirks and things that only you can understand by coming from that background.
So that's what our international our cohorts are set up regionally. Ones that are set in local church are in that local church, but country-wise they're set up regionally, right? So those students are all coming from typically a similar experience culturally. Yeah, so they are all learning in cultural context together. That's what makes our Filipinos so amazingly powerful, planting churches everywhere they go. They're amazing. Yeah, and then what I was explaining, our pastors cohort, that's a little different. That's in addition, you still have that cohort environment that you're a part of, but then we do an extra, hey, come gather together with these pastors and just kind of share what's going on in your life and your pulpit and your church. How is it impacting your church? It's been fun. I'll meet with them tomorrow, so it's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it. They're encouraging.
And I have to say, I'm amazed. I don't know what time you got up this morning to catch a flight.
Don't ask.
I mean, yes, very much the Easter Bunny, just all that energy. So I thank you for being able to host.
Pray for my team.
Yeah. There's the example. No.
No, they're like, go to sleep, leave us alone.
Thank you so much.
No, it's awesome to be able to have you. Thank you.